Assalamu alaikum, people from all places and races. Welcome to the final special surprise for Rabbids Fandom Day. Throughout this entire day, you have seen various surprises that were done with a lot of love and passion towards the many members of the Rabbids fandom. From drawings that expressed different ideas and concepts presented in the fandom, animatics that told different stories about its members, and even reviews of games that were very special to the community back then. It all culminates here with this special gift that was done for some of the most important members inside the Rabbids fandom. And this surprise is something that hasn't been done before. Although technically it was. Let us explain.
IUs inside fandoms aren't a new concept. To those unaware, an IU, or alternate universe, is a type of fanware created by a fan or group of fans about a project that changes one or more elements of the main canon of it. It mostly involves placing the characters in an entirely different setting, changing the genre of the project in which everything occurs, or even alter the stories of the characters and how they develop. IUs based on the Rabbids IP aren't really a thing, being the biggest highlight and basically the only one relevant out there. The Welcome to Rabbids Hell IU, made by the marvelous Tyrant on Fire, which, as many of her usual projects, puts the cast of the Rabbids Invasion TV show in a dark and gritty setting. Ironically, this changes completely when talking about the Rabbids fandom, since, well, we basically have tons of IUs thanks to the Rabbids Fandom Multiverse. Every multiversal variant done for the fandom is basically its own IU, being the most unique one the VA IU, as we would like to call it, which talks about how the Rabbids fandom are just characters inside other IPs and the voices are done by Mila and Letitia. With all this experience developed for 3 years, we thought it could be an interesting change of pace to do a proper IU that includes some of the most important and iconic Rabbids fans in history. This IU is based on one clear idea. The Rabbids' influence on these fellas never existed. What we are trying to say is that the folks here, the Rabbids fans, never became Rabbids fans. They had no relation to the Rabbids franchise or fandom in any shape or form, and this means that they never encountered fellows like Adrian and Raymond Lights, and also never lived through times like the Sparkles Gum and Cool Gamer Law situations. Also, yours truly never appeared in their lives. I never existed. Therefore, there was never any creation made by yours truly that paid tribute to the Rabbids fandom. Although the franchise still exists, it never had any impact on these people, and everyone went through separate paths, although some of them did meet up eventually under other circumstances. What we did here is show the radically different realities that these remarkable and beloved fellas go through without the presence of the Rabbids franchise and the fandom on their lives.
After everything that has been said, we would like to make a showcase showing off every multiversal variant that forms part of this unique alternate universe. We would like to start first with the Clever Boys.
Noodles was one of the main faces of the Renaissance era of the Rabbids fandom. His charm and his vibes have stolen the hearts of many around here, and his creations always had an unmatched style that was both quirky and cool. His elegance and courtesy are what makes him a true gentleman amongst many in the fandom. But what if things were different in that last aspect? In this universe, he wouldn't really be a guy, if you know what I mean. So he, after some time, came out as a girl while still keeping their name in some way. This idea isn't one that comes from some freaky headcanon. There's a lot to it. To start off, the name Sebastian is a French variation of the name Sébastien, which means venerable or worthy of respect. However, this name also has a feminized variation, if you call it that, in France that is Sébastien, and its meaning doesn't change one bit. Another big influence to this idea was his voice actress, Naima Green, aka Tofu Streams, who played our great friend in the Clever Boys video for the Trouble Gals universe, and has many similarities to Noodles in physical appearance, mindset, and personality. Let's be honest here, folks, she's just a female version of him. And we mean that in a good way. These two ideas converged and formed the concept of Noodles finding himself and becoming the girl she always wanted to be. And the thing here is, outside of that, nothing really changed. The physical appearance has changed throughout the transition, of course, but her attitude, values, and principles remain untouched, as well as keeping the exaggerated swagger of a black teen. The message we wanted to convey here is that it doesn't matter what you are, but who you are. A lesson that we have always kept inside the fandom. Not to mention that we personally believe that in any universe, Noodles would be the great and wonderful human being he has always been. Aiden was quite the icon in the Rabbids fandom back in the day, and we didn't know from him in years. He has changed a lot over this time, and has grown to become someone quite different. Seeing him after so many years, we realized that Aiden became someone more formal, shy, and reserved compared to his more bubbly and snappy personalities from his years in the fandom. Something else we discovered about him after all this time was his music taste. Something that never crossed our minds till now. He started developing a taste for rap groups like Paramore, 21 Pilots, and Sleeping with Sirens. With all that in mind, we created what we like to call Emo Aiden, as a way to represent these heavy rock tastes that he has acquired and how he has become much more of an introvert. Here, he remains as an emotional person, as we all know, but he shows these emotions in a very different manner that some may or may not find very orthodox. It's a reinterpretation that is also an evolution of the type of person Aiden has become during his time out of the internet and out of the fandom. It teaches us that, although things change, the main essence of a person can stay and simply evolve as years go by. Oh, Willie. Everybody loves Willie. Although we want to clarify that he calls himself Will now. That zany but often grumpy lad has given us countless laughs with his creations and his personality. Although he has moved on from this franchise a long time ago to pursue his passions, his influence inside the fandom remains untouched. However, from what I've gathered, it seems he's very into gaming development and just playing games in general as of now. And that made us think, what if his energy was used onto something different? Something that has much more to do with professional work. We came up with the idea of an academic Will that is very applied on his high school and has tons of knowledge in subjects like math, physics, and chemistry. Will is a fella that mostly wants to do his own thing, so we do imagine that in another reality, that mindset is his driving force to tackle the many subjects that his school offers and gather all the knowledge he can get from the places he goes. Smart fellas have always taken their own paths, and we do think that Will is one of them. Razor was the Rabbids family back in the day. His influence and his humor has transcended generations inside the fandom, and he is still remembered to this very day for his varied content and unique personality. It's very clear that the concept of royalty has been a huge influence on his persona and his usual portrayal by the rest of the fandom. But what if his fascination towards hierarchy had a distinct twist? Private Razor is what Razor would be if he was interested in a more military aesthetic rather than a royal one. He is someone very determined and committed to his principles and values, and believes that he can make this world better by bringing order and justice to what's around him. Something we didn't add is that Razor is someone very straightforward when it comes to expressing his thoughts. and we do believe that the military school would be the place where he gets to show this side of him everywhere and anywhere.
We shall continue this showcase by showing the variants of the Trouble Gals inside this universe.
Apple was and still is one of the faces of the Renaissance era of the Rabbids fandom that began on this very day 3 years ago. She is someone that may come out as freaky, quirky, and often a bit wacky in her videos and posts, but once you get to know her, you'll have the most loyal and naive friend you could ever have. She isn't someone known to express how she feels, nor does she talk about herself that much. And seeing this gave me a very unique perspective on how she could be in this universe. In this universe, Apple forms part of the most prestigious music academy in the world. Her passion for music, tunes, and sounds are what makes her unique, and gives her a perfect way to express everything that she holds in her mind and soul, especially with her condition since, in this reality, she is mute. Apple is unable to communicate with words, so she uses music, and sign language of course, to show the world who she really is. It's a very unexpected idea, but we do believe that representing mute people, and people with disabilities in general, inside the fandom is very important, even though we hadn't had many folks with a condition like that till now. Rab has been a mainstay of the Rabbids fandom since the start of the Renaissance. She is someone who has garnered quite the attention and love from the fandom throughout the years. Everybody knows her for her strong will, her confident aura, and cheerful spirit. And we do believe it has a lot to do with her Afro-Latina heritage. And that takes us to this question. What if her usual vibes remained the same, but got a different influence that showed off all her talents? In this reality, Rab isn't really into rap and hip-hop music, but rather pop and rock music. And not only that, she also became an idol inspired by otaku culture, something not very common for black people. Rab gives it all when it comes to singing and dancing to her massive public and has become quite the inspiration for many. Rab's confidence and quirkiness has allowed for many inside the fandom to feel more represented and acknowledged over the years. And we firmly believe that in every universe, she is the reason why others got to be themselves too. Raving has been a landmark of the community since its very foundation back in the late 2010s. Her unique yandere-like aesthetic has become synonym with the boldness that the Rabbids fandom often tackles with their projects. However, Raving's dark and gritty aesthetic is very related with her online presence and interactions. Which brings the question, what if she wasn't influenced by it? What better way to represent a girl who isn't influenced by the internet than a cowgirl? As Raving never discovered the Rabbids franchise, she used her impulses and energy onto growing in the outlands and working hard at the family farm. She made a name of herself for her courageous and noble spirit. Her usual tendencies are non-existent because of her way of life in this place filled with nature and life. Also, she is a lesbian in this universe, because we thought it would be a fun idea, and surprisingly, lesbian Rabbids fans aren't really common despite being one of the most queer fandoms in the internet.
Proceeding with the program, we want to make a pair of special variants dedicated to the Tutastic duo, Yoru and Franio.
Yoru has been a figure of the fandom wrapped in a lot of mystery, but what has been known about her is what made us love her very much and gave her a spot inside the fandom that has been set in stone until this very day. She is a very eloquent and wise woman that is also honest, expressive, and zany, but often impulsive and a bit reckless. We asked ourselves, what if her negative traits were converted onto something more positive? In this reality, Yoru manages a gym with a worldwide fame. She started off small as a simple instructor in local gyms in Poland, and later became an icon in the health industry. Her impulses here were used into exercise and movement, and that has inspired others to do the same. She promotes physical activity, positive interactions, and healthy lifestyles with everything she does. As she was mostly known as that freaky polished goth artist before becoming part of the fandom, it's neat that folks out there have a more respectful concept of her. And also, Ryan Plantar forms part of her exercise programs. He provides an easy guide during every session, gives out more support to everyone, and even is kind of a mascot of Joe's gym. Sweet, lovable Franio, the multifaceted hero of the fandom that has become a legend. The dude's been known for his super heart, his super charisma, and his super handsomeness. But overall, his helpful spirit is what kept others believing in themselves for many years. He's our hero to us all. In the IU, Franil takes the role of a therapist with 10 plus years of expertise in the industry who helps all sorts of people, from victims of abuse to people with gender dysphoria. Franil assists many individuals going through rough situations with the help of various tools, treatments, and dynamics that helps them overcome, in a way, their traumas and issues. Franil's desire to help others transcended the multiverse, and although it is less fantasy-like, it still possesses that altruistic spirit that is so iconic in his persona. Also, Fletch King here is actually the helper of Franil because he is being used as a way to calm people down in times of need during his therapy sessions. He is kind of a therapy mascot because of his cuddly and fluffy nature.
To finalize, we would like to make a showcase of the final variants that are about the Rat Pack, also known as the Rabbids United team. And these are ones that present a very special twist.
Unlike with the previous variants shown for this IU, these all form part of the same family, you could say. Let us explain. We mentioned at the beginning that the Rabbids franchise existed in this universe, but it didn't have the impact that it had on these fellas, and that changed the course of their lives. Except for a few folks whose love and passion for this saga transcended the multiverse and evolved into something unique. The Rabbids United crew, composed by Meg, Cooper, and Loris, were the folks who in this universe kept on being Rabbids fans. But the thing here is, they were the only Rabbids fans that ever existed. The franchise never took off, nor it was popular. It never garnered a huge following, or a niche one even, and it really only had 1 or 2 games. So it basically was this little thing that was only for them. The 3 were best friends who enjoyed their company talking about these characters and spending time together. As time went on, they found a few more folks like them and made their little friend group a bit bigger. Loris's little brother, the Ball, grew up and started to understand the saga. Baranko, who is much older compared to the rest, joined them as a way to relax from his busy college work. Pink, the gender-ambiguous bunny, became part of the group by pure coincidence. And eventually, a sweet and lovely lass came to town and found a group of friends who would become her family. And that little lady was Jawai. Seeing how this little group changed as time went on, they decided to give themselves a proper name. They called themselves the Raving 7. These are 7 good friends who had a love and deep appreciation for this franchise, but as years went by, their memories and experiences together became much more valuable than anything that came from that saga. All these fellas are, and were, members of the Rabbids fandom with a big and important history in it. And everyone here has their role inside the group, which is expressed by their way of dressing. They also have a symbol that represents their friendship and team that is present in their respective attires. The Raving 7 represent a reality where the concept of our Rabbids fandom goes beyond anything that has been seen inside and outside the internet. An idea that symbolizes the true heart and soul of this community, and something that exemplifies what a fandom can truly become.
We would like to thank everyone for joining in on this very special surprise and for joining us in this special showcase dedicated to this unique alternative universe. And we would also like to take a time to appreciate all of you for coming over and experiencing and just being there with us all these years that have been very important to me. These creations, videos, animatics, and everything you have seen was created thanks to the values and the creative minds of the Rabbids fandom. We are very thankful for everything you have done, you have inspired, and you have been throughout these last 3 years. And we are very happy that we were able to be with you all this time and making you smile. Thanks everyone for coming to the Rabbids Fandom Day celebration. We wish you all A very good night.